How the heck are you, everybody? I'm Fastidious. Welcome to my channel and welcome to this week's edition of Should You Summon? This is at least a weekly video I do. Some weekends, especially lately with a million banners, I have to do it 2 or even 3 times. This is nice and simple. We have one key banner. I will say we do have a second kind of banner, the 2X, the crazy banners for rare summoning crystals and for divine summoning crystals. Those are here nearly every weekend. I'm not even going to address it. If you're a brand new account that just needs legendaries, technically it's a decent choice, but with such a good banner like this is what we're discussing. Our special banners, so they're 15x rate ups on 2 of the better heroes in the entire game. And that is not an exaggeration. I'm not trying to overhype anything. I wish this wasn't such a good banner. We're all coming out of the anniversary. I think a lot of us want to exhale. I would have loved to take a week off from Should You Summon. If it was just the crazies, I wouldn't have to make this video. That's not what this is. This is a truly tremendous banner. And anyone who tells you otherwise, and I know there are takes going around out there that some people have relayed to me that this isn't that good of a banner, this is that good of a banner. Of course, there are certain conditions. If you have certain things you might not need to summon on this banner. Me, I've got a very advanced account. I have an A5 Zilitu and an A1 Artemis. I do not need to summon on this banner. A lot of people, especially those that do not have these heroes, this is a must summon banner. We do know that Hotsit is coming in either 1 or 2 weeks. The Leak Boys, Destin, they have told us that. Hotsit is completely tremendous and even better than these 2 S+ heroes. That being said, that doesn't take away from how ridiculous this banner is. And if you're the kind of person that has a Hotsit already, I mean, this is cannot miss. Also, for new players, Maul, top 6 epic in the whole game, probably. Probably the best epic DPS in the whole game, him and Idril. Ridiculous stuff, completely late and even endgame viable. But Zilitu and Artemis, I mean, you really cannot oversay it. By the way, there's not going to be an intro. We're starting right now. And guys, if you're going for this banner, if you're doing summons tomorrow and you want me to do them, we're having a big pulse party here on YouTube Live. It's going to be at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. That is 5 p.m. Central European Time, 3 p.m. UTC. Do the conversions you need to do. Sign up will be in the top pinned comment. Hope to see you there. They are as good as it gets for what they do. Like, sincerely, they are. And in the case of, like, Artemis, one of the most unique heroes in the game, a crazy kit. So how about we actually begin with him? I can also say I know these characters, I know these heroes intimately. I've used them extensively. I have both of them on my account. I use them all the time on my account. I use Zilitu every single day in Guild Boss, right? I use Artemis every single month when I have to do Gear Raid 4. I know these guys very well, so I do think I'm a good authority on it. They are incredible heroes. So let's start with Artemis. Weird and wacky hero. He is a healer, but he does a lot of not healer things. So you might think he's not a good healer. Wrong. He's a really good healer. It's a weird thing that I think is slept on in Artemis's kit, because if you don't know, when he ults, he's also doing a ton of AoE magic DPS. And it's strong. It's a good amount. It's like a legendary level of it. The burst is not on the level of like a comet, but it is really strong. It's better than like a normal epic or something. It is significant AoE magic DPS. I have even used him to solo DPS 120 at A0 without like a crazy build. You can easily have him main DPS 121, you know, the hardest of the 3 gear raids. I would say gear raid 1, 2, and 3, the 3 OG gear raids. I think 121 is the hardest stage. He cracks it in half, right? He can solo DPS it with great gear, especially if you have him at A1, and then he's providing crazy healing and crazy anti-heal. So moving on to the other part of his kit that has nothing to do with healing, he's got a ridiculous amount of anti-heal. So in his ultimate, not only when he's ulting is he doing big damage, and I can show you now, it is going to be 200% AoE damage to up to 8 enemies, so a proper AoE. Also, each attack will inflict the targets with anti-healing, and that's going to last for 3 seconds. So if we do the math here, this can last for 20 seconds. You are going to want to skill it up if you want to use him a lot, especially for things like Gear Raid 4, Gear Dungeon 1. Get that down to 1,000 costs. This lasts for 20 seconds. The final placement, if you're going on the 20th second, you know, it's going to land on either second 19 or 20, and then it's going to place anti-heals that last for 3 seconds. This can result in 22, even 23 second uptime on the anti-heal. That's as good as it gets in this game. For just doing the anti-heal, he is the best hero in the game. The one caveat with his anti-healing is he does get maxed out at 8 targets. So if you really are at the margins, it can be hard in Gear Raid 1, because often, especially later on in Gear Raid 1 in the battle in 19, 20, and 21, when they gather along that wall, there can easily be more than 8 enemies. That being said, he still can be your solo anti-healer. He can even be your solo DPS. Let's quickly go through the kit. You can already see I really like this hero. The talent, when healing allies applied with blood craving, restores rage. This is kind of key because you want to cycle his ult as fast as possible. You will see he puts out blood craving from one of his passives. This leads to increased receive healing by that target, so he can do better healing upon his allies. But the key thing with getting out the blood craving, in my opinion, because his heals are kind of already good enough, it's to cycle that rage, and it's really good. It's really good. The basic attack here, he grants attack-based healing to one ally in range, so this is a single target heal. However, there are AoE components to his healing. You can see this goes up by an additional 20% of whatever his base healing multiplier that they still don't share with us is. If we go here to the ultimate, we kind of went over it very quickly. It goes down to 1,000 costs. It's going to last for 20 seconds. He does big AoE and he does big anti-heals on up to 8 enemy targets. The first passive here, Revitalizing Shot. During the ultimate, heals up to 3 allies around the target with a 100% healing multiplier upon it. So it's a strong multiplier. It can go up to an entire 150%. And now we've got some AoE, really multi-target, but it's triple hitting any allies that are touching the target that he's hitting. So during the ultimate, he's doing big blasts of AoE, right? AoE magic DPS. He's doing proper damage. He's putting out anti-heal, but then any allies in any adjacent tiles, any tiles touching it, you know, the cross or diagonally, if they're touching that tile that's getting hit, and it's possible because he's hitting in a very large range, right? It is a big 8 target AoE, and I didn't go over it yet, but I'll show you now. He has like the good healer range, the 3x4, similar to like a Light Lock or an Asandai, as opposed to like that mid-on element range. Obviously not the crazy Vortex or Fasti range, but still, you know, the better of the normal ranges. He can be hitting a lot of people, which means they can be touching many allies potentially. It's a lot of healing. If there are multiple targets getting hit, there are multiple heals going on, so multiple allies can get healed in different ways based on different hits. The healing is legitimately significant. You see huge numbers. If you guys want, I did a run of Nightmare Void Rift, I want to say 3 months ago maybe, whenever he came out originally when I first pulled him, and I used him in every single stage during that run, and some of the numbers you're going to see, not just on his DPS, but on his actual heals, really blew my mind, because a lot of his heals are these multi-target heals, and they are enormous. Like super strong heals. It's slept on how good a healer he actually is. Finally, the last passive here, Sanguine Tonic. It's going to be on a 30-second timer. You can get it down to a 20-second thing. This is just an auto that happens like clockwork. So this passive, this auto, is the mechanism through which he applies that blood craving we discussed earlier. So periodically he locks onto allies and throws Sanguine Tonic on them. When hitting a target, applies blood craving to nearby allies and heals them with 120% of the healing multiplier. That can go up to 160%. The key thing though, since they already will get great heals from him, is going to be that they have the blood craving placed on them in the first place, so then in the future when he goes to heal them, he is going to be able to do that rage restoration from his talent. Now his awakening. So we have to spend a lot of time in the A1 and then we'll very quickly go through the other 4. This is a big thing, right? His A1 turns him from a good DPS to a great DPS because he becomes insanely easy to build. So during his ultimate, he now gets increased crit rate by 50%. So good, but not so crazy, right? Because this is only happening during his ultimate. It's not all the time. Actually, kind of not really, because the only time he can deal damage anyway is during the ultimate. So basically this is whenever he's dealing damage, increases crit rate by 50%. All of that big AoE magic DPS that makes him so unique on top of the anti-healing and the big heals, that whole combination, all that's going to happen during the ultimate. So whenever he's in the situation where he gets to deal damage, he's starting with a baseline of 50% crit. However, that gets a little crazier still, because you'll see if we go to my Artemis, right? He's not geared right now or anything, but you can see my Artemis is A1. If we go here to his stats, total attributes, he actually starts, because he is a cultist, with a base 3% crit rate. That might not seem like much, but it actually is something, because he has a baseline just from collection progress. That's one of the rewards the cultists get as a faction. He gets 3%. Then when he does his ultimate, the only situation when he can be dealing damage, that's another 50%. What does this all mean? Let me do the math for you. Essentially, if you ever need to do DPS with him and you have him A1, you only need 47% crit. Once you have your collection bonus done, which will not take very long playing the game, once you get several cultists on your roster, and then if you get him A1, you have a baseline whenever he's in a damage dealing position, aka during his ultimate, he starts with 53% crit. It is ridiculously easy to only build 47% crit, focusing on that attack bonus, getting that attack to the moon. That's where his damage is coming from, that's where his healings are coming from, getting his attack speed very high. He is a healer, you want him going fast. This also will help him cycle his ult faster, maybe getting a little rage regen, getting some crit damage for some more DPS, getting some heal effect. You can see he's a greedy hero. He's very stat hungry. It becomes a lot easier when you don't have to worry about crit. You can just pick up a little crit here, a little bit there, and you're good to go. 47%, add the extra 50 during the ultimate, the 3 for the collection bonus, you are off to the races. He is fully crit capped. That's when you can see some really crazy numbers. I will say, when you're like endgame, you probably have such good gear that you already have been keeping because it has crit. I know some people have this problem. You're like not even finding enough gear to get him low on crit, so you end up overkill with like 130% during his ultimate, 140%. Pretty good problem to have. The point is he makes it really easy, and certainly for progression, it's crazy. I'm sorry I have to say one more thing about the Awakened 1 here, and this is very, very fresh, very relevant. If you remember the Alpha, the Beta, those events from the most recent anniversary stuff we had, and then certainly the Eternal Spire, those had special stages where your gear didn't count, your skill ups didn't count, your artifacts didn't count, you got totally neutralized, right? So you were just reliant on the base skills of a hero, their base abilities, and then also your awakenings. The only bonus you could have, depending on your heroes, was the awakenings. Artemis was really unique because without gear or anything, all these heroes just had 15% crit. So you were never critting. These DPS, Silas, you're used to seeing huge numbers. Those numbers weren't so huge anymore. With Artemis, you got huge AoE numbers if you were lucky enough to have him A1. I discovered this just trying him out because he goes to do an AoE during his ult, and he's actually critting, 68% of the time. He has the 3% collection bonus, he has the base 15% all the heroes have, and then he gets the 15% during his ultimate, and he does get that because it's an awakening. He's kind of a hack for those neutralized stages. I know they're thinking of bringing them back for sure, so that's pretty darn exciting. The A2, very simple, plus 300 attack, attack-based damage, attack-based healer. This makes a lot of sense. The A3, this is something I hope to get one day, increases the effect duration of blood craving on allies by 5 seconds. As it stands now, blood craving only lasts 10 seconds, so this makes it last 50% longer. And keep in mind, when they have that blood craving kind of designation on them, that buff, that effect on them, every time he goes to heal one of those allies, he generates rage, so you can rage cycle with him a lot faster. After the A3 though, I don't think anything here is so key. The A4, rage regen auto +1. That means you get 1 extra rage point every second. I mean, it's better than nothing, but I mean, for a legendary A4, I think that kind of stinks. And then the A5, Sanguine Tonic heals all allies in range with a 30% healing multiplier per second, lasting for 5 seconds. The only place I see this being relevant, at least with the content we have now, is like Healer Codex, which already he's not that good in, because he's got this weird mix of single target and multi-target kind of AoE. His healing's good enough. I don't like healers where like their A5 is like better healing or their A3 is better healing. Usually these guys, especially the legendaries, already have good enough base healing. That's how I feel here. The only awakening I would go for is the A1. If you luck into an A3, that's really cool. How might you luck into an A3? Well, maybe you're going to pull really hard trying to get Zilitu, and if you don't have her, this is definitely something I think you should do. Going for Zilitu is super important. The lack of hype around Zilitu being on this banner really kind of has me befuddled. My theory is it's coming from 2 places, and those 2 places are kind of interconnected. The first one, she is an OG hero. She came with the launch of the game, and very early on she had a banner. People are used to her. She's kind of old news. She's not a shiny new toy like a Lucius or like, oh, Ingrid's coming, or I mean, when Boreas came, it's not like one of those situations, or even when Artemis came, right? She's been here forever, over a year now. Maybe it's just, yeah, the same thing like with Comet. She's done her job amazingly well forever. It's kind of like, all right, you're good at your job, on to the next. I think the hype has been lost a little bit, which is a sad thing because she's still kind of as good as ever. The second thing, and kind of related, she has been here since launch. Many players have been playing for a long time, and she has received many raid ups. I believe this is her 4th raid up. I'm almost certain it is. She was on the initial banner ever when the game came out. Then they did a banner with her, and wow, first time in a long time I don't remember a banner. Let me know if anyone remembers that second banner. I honestly can't think of it. I took a moment there. Then I know the third one was the 2x by 15x with Hex, and now she's coming a 4th time now. Why am I counting all those out? I think a lot of people have her. I think that's why there's less hype. I think a lot of content creators, so they're not as excited. Maybe there's someone out there, and I can't keep up with everything. Maybe someone is properly hyping her up. She's so ridiculously good, especially if you don't have like a Hex with his exclusive artifact. She is the absolute queen to this day of Guild Boss 1. Guild Boss 1 is so important. If you've got a Pyros or a Twin Fiend, add in a Zilitu, you're completely cooking. Even with Soul Cadence, you'll get less damage out of Zilitu, but it's still an amazing synergy. You'll get more damage out of Soul Cadence. I mean, she is ridiculously strong. She is ridiculously strong. And then I think maybe the other thing is people think of her as like a Guild Boss specialist. And yes, certainly at the end game, that's the main place you're going to use her. But she's good like so many places. I use her on my Guild Boss 2 team, or at least I have been using her. I might be about to take her out. Lots of people, when you progress, you'll use her in every single fight. If you get her early on, especially before the magic resistances get super high, because again, she deals magic DPS, magic type damage, she'll carry you through so much. She fits in extremely well in a lot of places. She's got the great Zilitu Arrogance range you can see here at full promotions. She does magic damage, which is unique. She can hit aerial units on top of just melee units. She's very bursty. She has an incredibly long ultimate where she puts out burning and just buckets and buckets of damage. And then a key thing with skill ups, you can get this thing to 35 seconds. I'm gonna go straight to Awakenings now. If you get her at A3, it's an additional 10 seconds on the ultimate. So I have actually A5 Zilitu. When I hit A3, my Zilitu's ultimate went up to 45 seconds. I mean, that is bonkers stuff. She's got a ton of things in her kit that just lead to more damage, and she's really worth, even a touch of true damage, she's really worth the hype. For single target damage, boss damage, she's tremendous. Like for Guild Boss 1, Guild Boss 2, she's still insanely relevant. Yeah, she might not be the best hero in the game for like codexes or something. Let me also quickly say, because someone's going to yell at me in the comments, she's insane for Arbiter of Frost. If you're going to run her with like a Soul Cadence or a Twin Fiend team, that's what I do, and could not put up the numbers I do without her. Absolutely not. She is not super meta anymore for things like Arena or GVG, but she's still very usable there. I mean, all in all, she's just a very good hero, a definitive S+ hero. And quite frankly, if you don't have her and you have Hot Sit, this is the ultimate no-brainer. Even for some people, like, is Hot Sit going to move the needle as much as Zilitu if you've already cleared tons of PvE content but you're struggling with bosses? That is something really to consider, especially when she's getting paired with another rare bucket and super high rated, super strong hero in Artemis. I think people are also underrating the power of a banner where both legendaries on rate up are very good and rare. Very often we see these banners where there's like a top obvious first choice hero and then like a meh second choice. For many people, these two are going to be super desirable, and both are rare buckets, so they're hard to have gotten. You easily could be missing both, right? And they're going to help you in some major ways. Zilitu will help you basically everywhere, and certainly as you progress even to the very end of the game, all the way at the top in GB1, she's just a brilliant damage dealer, especially with her lords, especially with Twin Fiend and Pyros because of all those glitchy mechanics with the focus fire. And then also in GB2, she's my top damage dealer for Semra for GB2 right now. I still think I'm going to move away from the Infernals right now. I'm not 100% sure, but that's how good she really is on APOC 2, doing crazy damage. Yeah, not everything has to be the ultimate Praetus endgame meta to still be relevant, because a lot of us don't have that, right? And for GB1, she's still right there. I have to just shout it out for Artemis. I don't know if I said it so explicitly, but not just Gear Raid 1, anywhere you need AoE magic DPS and then certainly anti-healing, he is a superstar. So for Gear Raid 4, aka Gear Dungeon 1, this guy is about as good as it gets. He really is. He was on my 4 stage 10 clear, the hardest stage in the whole game for Gear Raid 4. I did that yesterday on stream. First tried it with Artemis. I mean, he's that kind of guy. He is that guy. He works very well in his faction. It's awesome stuff. I think I can leave it there. These are exceptionally good heroes. Who should go for them? I mean, if you've got both, you don't need to go for them. Even at A0, Artemis is still a total beast, and even at A0, so is Zilitu. I will quickly point out with Zilitu, as good as her A3 is, as someone who just pulled A5 Zilitu, this might be the most disappointing A5 in the game. Don't feel like you have to pull much farther. Rage Regen attack +2. This allows her to generate more rage from her basic attacks, and this scales with Rage Regen percentage. She gets it pretty quick, especially if you're going to do cycling strats. So I'd say A3 is as far as you need to go. Even A0, she is A-okay. A final thing I want to point out, when she's blocking units, she can do more damage. She can deal 20% more damage to the targets. So a lot of people always ask me, why do you see her in Guild Boss pushed further back? Pushed back a row so she's not blocking. It's as simple as this. That puts her in range of Laurel, so she's in one of the adjacent tiles to the tile Laurel's in. So when you pick up Laurel, she does get that 50% boost in her rage from Laurel. If we look at the cost of her ultimate, it's not so expensive, but at 900 it isn't cheap. When you do use Laurel and you pick her up, Zilitu gets a 450 rage boost. I mean, that makes her ult effectively 450 total. That is so strong, so much stronger than 20% more damage, especially if you're like me and you get your Zilitu A3 and the ultimate's lasting 45 seconds. She's nearly ulting the whole fight. There is very little downtime if you cycle Laurel correctly with your Zilitu, and she's just ulting and ulting and ulting the whole time. If you put her far up to block, you completely lose this, and the 20% damage does not cover ulting nearly the whole fight. That being said, this is a really nice little effect when you use her in content outside of Guild Boss and things where you're not going to do some kind of Laurel cycling. This is a crazy banner. So like if you don't have these two guys, this is a 100% go for it, even if you don't have Hotset. If you're missing both of them and you haven't already done 50k in Guild Boss 1, you haven't already done Gear Aid 1 and Gear Aid 4, simple as that, this is your banner. I mean, there's 2 W's on the banner. Keep in mind, if it was just the Zilitu banner, right, you'd be looking at like maybe a 22% chance. Because we have these 2 good guys, you're looking at like a 40 to 44% chance, nearly a 50% chance to hit on 2 good ones, assuming you want them and you're missing them. When you get the good rare hero paired with the meh common hero, you're looking at like the 20 to 22% chance to hit the good rare one you want, and then something like a 28% chance to hit the one you don't want. So even though you're looking at like a 50-50 to hit a banner hero, it's going to be more likely you don't hit the one you want. Whenever you get these banners with 2 desirable heroes, I say go for it. So who shouldn't be going for these guys, right? You know, if you already got your Gear Aid 1 and your Gear Aid 4 covered, you don't really need Artemis, especially if you have another anti-heal. I mean, he's so good and he's so versatile. I could definitely see more content coming where it's like, wow, I could really use a hero that heals, does anti-heal, and puts out crazy DPS. That is what happened when Gear Aid 4 came along. He was like the wearer of every hat. The way I use it, he was my only healer on the top, my only anti-healer on the top, and my second DPS on the top. You guys can go check out that guide. I use no Valkyra on those initial clears, nothing. But if you have all that stuff and you don't want to get him like because you think something else crazy might be coming, that's perfectly fair. And then for Zilitu, I mean, the places she's going to really shine is like boss content, specifically Guild Boss 1. And then, like I said, in those Infernal comps with the Twin Fiend or a Soul Cadence, she is so good in Arbiter of Frost. If you have all that stuff covered, then yeah, don't go for it. Or if you already have base copies of these guys, yeah, maybe wait for the upcoming banners. It seems like each banner is always better than the next, but to say this banner is anything but a gigantic W would be disingenuous. This banner is very good. So many people should be summoning. I'll say especially if you do not have these characters, it is the ultimate no-brainer. It really is. So let me leave it at that, guys. I've been Fastidious. If you like my stuff, like it, hit the notification bell, subscribe, get in the comments, let me know what you're thinking. Reminder, we're doing a pulse party tomorrow, probably like 14 hours from when this video comes out. The sign up will be in the top pinned comment. Go check that out. Share with your mother, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.